So today is all going to be about bulletproofing the buyer transaction. I'm going to start with screen sharing. I want to make sure this is not new. So these are the required documents for our office when you're working with a buyer. So these are all the things, if you want to get paid, you need to have in your command. So if you have these things in your command and they are approved by compliance, then as soon as your commission check comes in, you will be good to go to get paid. So this is the list. You can see there's 9 things that the office requires that you have in your command. Where else, if we're not sure or if we forget, where else do we look to make sure that we've uploaded all of our documents?
Is it Bright?
Not Bright. That's where we search for properties.
Okay, so command is where we put all of the documents in.
Yep, exactly. So the same list you have pretty much outlined for you in your command opportunity. So in consultation, it'll say your consumer notice and your affiliated business disclosure. And you'll see once you upload them, they will be in like a teal color, so you can see that you've uploaded them, or you've pulled them over from DocuSign into your command opportunity, and you'll submit. And when you submit and compliance looks at it, you'll see you'll have a green box that says approved. Same thing when you go under contract, after a consultation, these are all of your required documents. Don't forget, if it has been built before what year? For the lead-based paint, what's the year we need to have lead-based paint disclosure?
1978.
Yes, great job, Jakai. So if the house was built before 1978, we need to make sure we get that disclosure. Now that disclosure is signed by the buyer, the seller, and 2 other people. Who else signs the disclosure?
The agents have to sign it.
Yes, great job, Dorian. So the buyer's agent and the seller's agent needs to sign the lead-based paint disclosure. Don't forget those signatures. You will not get approved if you're missing all 4 of those signatures on the lead-based paint. I also encourage you to utilize your command for additional documents, such as home inspection reports, any change in terms addendums. Feel free to create a custom folder and add all of those documents so you keep them all in one place. So that goes over that. But today we're going to focus primarily on how do we bulletproof our buyer transaction. Well, have no fear. We have this great checklist for you guys. So I've created this checklist so it very much mirrors your command. So if you get a lead, right, that's cultivate. And it'll tell you these are the things that you need to have if you get a brand new lead. Now, if you are nurturing that lead, right, and you're following up, these are some of the things that you can keep in mind. And if you have a hot lead, say somebody walks into your open house, these are some of the things we need to double check. Do we have a pre-approval letter? Consider Finance of America or the Mortgage Collective, who are our in-house partners. A list of properties to show the buyer. Have we started researching properties for them? And you want to set up the buyer with a campaign, right? Or some drip, smart plans. So that way we're staying in touch with them or calling them or texting them, right? So you stay top of mind. So this checklist is here for you guys to kind of help you all along the way. We know when we get a lead, the goal is to get in front of that contact, right? And start showing them houses, which we like to call an appointment, right? So the lead turns into an appointment, and then they become an active client. Does that make sense? Once we have them as an active client, really important, guys, you want to make sure that you get a document that says that you are exclusively working with that buyer. What is that document?
The consumer notice.
Not the consumer notice. There's another document that's actually a contract.
Buyer tenant agent agreement.
Yes, good job. So consumer notice, we do need to make sure everybody signs. That lets them know that we are a realtor and how we represent them. But the buyer agency contract is what contracts the agreement between you and the buyer that says we are working together and I represent you. So that way they don't go and have Susan go show them houses and Susan gets the commission on the house. You want to make sure that you represent them and you only. Now, I've had the question come up a few times. Well, Dana, when should I have my client sign the contract? I recommend sooner rather than later. So if you are given a lead or somebody walks in the front door of your open house, start developing that rapport. You want to make sure you have their contact info. What are the 4 main things we should be getting from a lead? It's in box number 1 here with watch lead. What are the 4 things we always want to get? Contact info.
Phone number, email, address. What was the 4th one?
Full
And their
name.
name.
Great job.
Oh.
Yep, first and last. So we want to make sure we have all those components, right? I usually like to develop that rapport. Hey, I'd love to work with you. I explain to them my value proposition, right? By working with me, you get exclusive, access to me and all of the properties. I like to also share, there are things that I can make you aware, like coming soon properties not on the market yet. Is that something of value to you? Well, by working with me, you get access to that, right? We can look in the MLS and see coming soon. The general consumer does not see those in Zillow and Realtor.com. So by doing that, it's a great opportunity, for you to connect and say, this is something I can provide you. Does that all make sense? Awesome. Hopefully they'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. Awesome. I'm going to send you my buyer agency contract. Take a look over it. Let me know if you have any questions. And then I'm going to DocuSign it to them. And hopefully they will sign it. And then we'll be good. Keep in mind when you're writing this contract, if you're not sure, Dana, do I make my contract for 30 days, for 6 months, for a year? It's going to depend, right? So if my client tells me that they want to buy in June, when do you think the expiration date on our contract should be?
End of July, maybe?
Yeah, definitely not before June, right? So yeah, make sure you're covering your butt. We can always extend the contract. So if you ever have some clients that are maybe a little bit hesitant, I don't know that I want to sign a 6-month contract, no problem. Let me prove to you that I'm going to work hard for you. Let's sign a 2-month contract. Let me prove to you I'm going to research properties for you. I'm going to take you out on showings. And if you aren't happy with me, then you can fire me. But if I'm doing a great job for you, we'll extend the contract. How does that sound? So don't let the terms, the length of the contract, deter you from getting something signed. So once we have that signed contract, we're going to make sure we're uploading everything in our command. And we're going to start searching for properties. This is a great opportunity for you guys to really kind of show your stuff. Does everybody have a Zoom account? Awesome. It's free. You should definitely have it. I highly encourage you to do something just like this where we screen share, right? And you can show people, on Bright, here are the properties available based on your criteria. I always recommend that you set up a formal buyer consult. Why do we think a formal buyer consult is important?
You can get more details about, what they're looking for, what they're expecting. It's just more face-to-face interaction is just a lot better to have a more constructive conversation about things.
Absolutely. How would you feel if you were to hire, say, an attorney and he told you, hey, meet me on the corner of Broad and Washington and we'll chit chat about what you need? Feel a little awkward, right? I'm going to this attorney who's supposed to be a professional and he wants to meet me on the corner. So you guys are professional. So invite people to the office and have a sit down meeting where you can kind of go over their wants and needs and act like a professional. I want to go over all the details for you. I want to prepare you for what's to come. I want to make sure you're not distracted, right? So let's set aside time to get together so you can get to know me and I can understand what your real estate needs are. It seems awkward, right? It seems a little weird to do that. Does anyone feel that way? I feel a little awkward inviting someone to come into my office. I'm new. I don't have like my own office, right? They don't know that. You can book conference room space and have them sit down with you. Now, if people are not comfortable necessarily coming into the office, you can set up a Zoom meeting just like this. But again, you want it to kind of feel official. You want to make sure that they're not on their phone, that they're not distracted. So it's really important that you set this buyer consult. And by doing this, you can then prepare them for what's to come, right? So once they go under contract, you find this wonderful house that they love, what happens next?
Put in an offer?
You put in an offer. All right, so the offer gets accepted. Now what happens?
Appraisals? Inspections?
Yep. So along with inspections, is there sometimes they have to give some kind of moolah?
Yeah, your earnest money deposit.
Yep. So we're gonna want to make sure we get a copy of that earnest money. I like to take a picture of the check. That way I have everything, copies of everything. I upload that in my command. We're gonna have to, we have a deadline, right? We have a contingency period for our home inspections. Okay, Mr. Buyer, we have 10 days from when this contract was signed. We need to have a home inspection, review the report, and provide a response back to the seller with any repairs or credits that we want due to these findings from our home inspection. If you can prepare your buyer for what's next to come, it makes you look professional and it helps prepare the emotions. Now, who pays for the home inspection?
The buyer.
The buyer.
Yes. Really important. Most people do not know that. Approximately, how much do home inspections run? Are they $1 or are they $10,000? What's kind of that price range?
Aren't they like 300 to 400 maybe?
Yeah, and I think you have the option to like add things. So I think mine came up to like 6.
So what are some inspections that we can add on besides the home and property?
They did a radon. Was it the radon test they did for mine? I think there was another one, the termite one. So there were little things that they told me I could add if I wanted to.
Absolutely. So do you remember, Dorian, why you did a radon or why you did a termite?
I think for my house, it was newly renovated, so there was a lot of paint And whoever did my inspection, they said that because a lot of the things were painted over, they couldn't really tell. So that would be the best way to figure out what was going on. I also had like an attic or something. So they was like the termite inspection would have been good for that.
So termite are wood destroying insects. They like to eat wood. And we know most houses are made out of what?
Wood.
That's right. So all of your joists and your flooring, and typically the things that they use to frame and build your houses, are made out of wood. Now you might have brick on the outside or siding or stucco, but the framework inside the house has wood. So we want to make sure that we don't have termites. Or if we do, we want to make sure that they are treated so that they don't continue to eat our wood. So we do a termite inspection. Now, radon. Radon is a natural occurring gas. It is odorless, colorless, so you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it's naturally in the air. Comes up from the Earth's surface. Some levels are higher in different neighborhoods than others. If somebody has a basement or a below ground level that they plan on utilizing, such as like a finished basement, or they plan to finish it, we always recommend to do a radon test. The inspector will set up these little canisters for 48 hours and they'll test those radon levels. Who knows what the max level is that's healthy for a radon test? Any guesses from 1 to 10? What do you think the number is?
3.
Very close.
4.
4. Yep. Anything 4 or below is considered okay and safe. Anything higher than 4, even if it's 4.1, is considered unsafe. And then what needs to happen is something called radon remediation, which essentially is a system that allows fresh air to flow. Because remember, you're in a basement. So typically it's not a space where you're opening a lot of windows and doors. So there's not a lot of fresh air coming in and out. So that's how we lower the radon levels. So termite, radon, and then home and property. Dorian, do you remember what are some of the things that your home inspector checked during home inspection?
She checked everything. I used the mirror spec. So Gail was here. They checked the ceilings. They checked all of the outlets. They went up in the attic. They did the outside to check the roof. She was in the back. She checked the wiring in the back and actually told me my wiring was too low. She checked all of the rooms, the ceilings and the floors of all the rooms, the basement. She was all over. She did everything. They were great. They checked my windows. They did everything.
Yep. So we are not
like a 2-hour process.
Yep. So we are not the qualified people to tell our clients the condition of the home. That's why we bring in a home inspector. And we tell our clients the reason they're spending money for this home inspection is so they can know absolutely everything about this property, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Home inspection is a very emotional time because your client got really excited about this house. There may or may not have been a bidding war. They won, they got the contract. And now they're paying someone to tell them everything that is wrong about this house that they are so excited about. And then they go, oh my God, what am I doing? So if you can prepare your clients that, all right, you're getting on the emotional real estate roller coaster now. You're really hyped and excited. We just, got our contract signed. Now we're having our home inspection. That's kind of the 2. All right. But if you can prepare them for that, they're going to be like, okay, this is what they told me was going to happen. You want to know this, right? Just like how you test drive a car, right? To make sure you like how it feels, that everything is what you hoped and dreamed it was. And during that home inspection, we get a report and we're going to review all of those items. I'm going to encourage you guys If you are working with a buyer, it is very helpful that you prepare them in saying, we are most concerned with big ticket items. We don't care about the little nicks in the wall or nicks in the floor detail. We want to care about the things that are going to cost you a lot of money. So we want to focus on roof, foundation, plumbing, electrical, safety issues. Those are our big concerns. Not that there's a stain on the carpet or a paint color you don't like. That's not where our focus is. Our focus is big ticket items. So think, things that are in like the $1,000, like the $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. When you set that expectation with your buyers that those are the things we're most concerned about ahead of time, they're not going to be so nitty gritty about a broken tile here or a stain on a carpet there. Because then you have to review that report, and now you have to give what's called a reply to home inspection. Dorian, do you remember some of the things that you requested during your reply to home inspection?
I think the only thing I requested was that they come and fix the roof. It wasn't, so I have the little arch thing at the top. So it was that, like some of the siding on that was missing. So I just asked them to replace it or whatever, and they agreed to fix it. So that was it, I think.
Yep, so roofing, that's one of the bigger ticket things, right? We want to make sure our roof isn't leaking because that can cause additional damage and problems. So when we have decided what those big ticket items are, we're writing, it's an actual document, a form called a reply to home inspection. We outline the different items that are of concern. I like to identify those items to the page number in my home inspection report. And then I provide it to the listing agent, a copy of the report and a copy of my reply. We'll negotiate, right? Sometimes the sellers will say, yep, no problem. And sometimes the sellers will say, well, we'll do 1, 2, and 5, but we're not doing the rest. So we negotiate. And once the buyer and the seller agree to the terms, we sign what's called a change in terms addendum. That outlines what the seller is willing to repair or is going to give a credit. And both the buyer and seller sign that. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have questions about home inspection or the reply? Alrighty. So once we have done that, typically now the lender is the one who orders the appraisal. But we always want to double check with our lender that that appraisal is ordered, because we have another deadline that we have to keep in mind that's related to our mortgage. And that is called our mortgage commitment date. So we need to make sure that appraisal comes in before our mortgage commitment date. So if we have a very short timeline, such as our buyer is closing in 30 days, we need that appraisal ordered right away. If we have a longer contract timeline, let's say 90 days, it's okay if the appraisal is done after home inspection. Does that make sense to everybody? Who pays for the appraisal? Fatima, do you want to take a guess? Who pays for the appraisal?
Isn't it the buyer?
Yes, great job. So the buyer pays for the appraisal, and it ranges. There's not like a one set fee. It all depends on the lender. Different lenders charge different fees for the appraisal. Once we get the appraisal in, we need that appraisal to either be the same as the sale price or higher than the sale price. If the appraisal comes in lower than the sale price, we have a problem. We got to talk with the listing agent and kind of negotiate. So we're right here now in appraisal and financing. Once we have that all kind of confirmed, We have then completed all of our contingencies, right? We've completed our home inspection contingency. And now we've gone through, we've given our mortgage commitment. So we've completed our mortgage contingency. Now we want to set up our closing date and time. As the buyer's agent, the buyer gets to choose pretty much the location. And typically we have settlement at either the title company office or at our Keller Williams office. Does that make sense to everybody? So as a common courtesy, I do like to reach out to the listing agent and just double check, hey, we're thinking about setting settlement up for February 25th at 11 o'clock. Does that work for you and your seller? And if they say, yep, then we tell the title company and we make sure that we set up that closing date and time. I did forget to mention about title. So when we go under contract, we want to make sure that we are ordering our title report from a title company. Who knows who our in-house title company is? What's the company's name?
Go Abstract.
Yes, great job. So Go Abstract is our in-house title company. So when we go under contract, it's really important that we are ordering title. Now, we are really, really blessed because we have amazing in-house transaction coordinators that we can utilize to help us and support us to make sure we know all our timelines and that we're staying on track. Who knows our in-house title, I'm sorry, our in-house transaction coordinator, what that company is? No?
Take me to closing?
Yes, great job. So Lauren and Joelle run Take Me to Closing. So I highly encourage you guys to utilize their services. That's what this means right here. Submit deal to Take Me to Closing, TMTC. So they will make sure that you are staying on top of everything and, you know, coordinating all the communication from when you go under contract to when you have settlement date. Does that make sense? Now, as the buyer gets to choose the title company. I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, the buyer has no idea what title is or why they need title. And they're going to come to you and say, who should I use for title? I highly encourage you to recommend Go Abstract or another title company if you've worked with them in the past and have had a very good experience. Does that make sense? And you'll see here in this box, when you go under contract, the last thing on this list is discuss title company and recommend Go Abstract. Then we move into our inspections, right? And we want to make sure that all of the utilities are on. Why is it important that all the utilities are on, that the electric's on, gas is on, and water is on?
So you can check to make sure they're working.
Absolutely. It's going to be kind of hard to check that all the light switches are working if you have no power. So then we'll move into these inspections where we'll help them. Again, they're going to ask you, who should I use? I don't know any home inspectors. Does anybody know of a home inspection company that we work very closely with?
Amerispec.
Yes, Dave and Gail at Amerispec. They're awesome. And you guys are privileged that if you are interested in setting up an opportunity to shadow them at a home inspection, we have that option for you guys. So if that is something that you guys are interested in, please send me an email at coaching@kwphiladelphia.com and we can connect you with Dave and Gail and get you to shadow a home inspection. I highly recommend it. Once we get through inspections, we move into that appraisal piece. Once appraisal is all good to go, another thing that we can consider is a home warranty. We have an amazing company called America's Preferred. Colette Staub is our contact there. So if your clients are concerned, hey, Dana, these appliances, they're working now, but my home inspector said that they're all like 10 or 15 years old and the life on these appliances is only about 15 years. I'm a little concerned in the next year, I'm going to have to replace everything. No problem. Let's get you a home warranty. So once all of that is good to go, we're setting up our closing date and time with the title company. If there were any repairs done by the seller, I always recommend that you have those repairs done at least 1 to 2 weeks before settlement. So you have the opportunity to walk through the property and double check that those repairs were done. And if need be, have the home inspector come back and double check those repairs. Example, if there was an issue with the HVAC, and they said they fixed it, do you guys feel really comfortable saying whether or not something was fixed? No. So don't be liable. Have the home inspector come back. There's usually a small fee for them to come back and check, but it is well worth it. Once you know everything is good to go, you'll set up your final walkthrough. Typically, final walkthrough is either the day before settlement or the morning of settlement. You'll go in the property. I recommend you turn on all the faucets, flush all the toilets, open all the doors, make sure everything is in good condition, because then you're going to head over to settlement and we're going to sign all those papers. So the buyer has a much larger amount of things to sign because they're signing like their mortgage note and title documents. So I typically tell my clients to plan about 1.5 hours to 2 hours for settlement. That way, if it's less, they'll be really happy. Ideally, settlement, you're in and out, but we know things happen. So tell them, if settlement is at 12, plan to be there 12 to 2. And if you get out at 1 o'clock, they're going to be really happy. Remind your buyers, they need to call the utility companies and turn on the utilities in their names. So gas in Philadelphia is PGW, electric is PECO. The water, though, the water will be transferred to their name. Dorian, you're laughing. Tell me.
I work for the water department. And when I actually had to call them. So when I was at settlement, they told me that it will automatically switch over. And I called the water department. They told me the same thing, but it didn't switch over. I had to call them and send them, I think you have to send them the Alta or something like that. And then they switch it over. But I was like 2 months behind because they hadn't sent me anything. So they say that it'll switch over automatically, but it doesn't always do that.
So good point. So because water is a lienable utility, it's not something that you like personally have to set up an account in your name. So you may see for the first month or 3 months, the old seller's name, but it's your bill. You're responsible for paying that. I always recommend when you get that first bill to call the water department and just remind them that you're a new buyer. This is now your house. And double check the balance. At settlement, typically you will do a meter reading. So you'll go to the water meter, you'll take a picture of the water meter, and you'll give that to the title person at settlement. They'll write that down because that's all the seller's water bill. And it might be in the middle of a cycle, a billing cycle. So there may be a credit given to the buyer at settlement that they're not really aware of. So then they get a bill and the bill says $100. And then you get a crazy client calling you, I got a bill for $100 and I've only lived here for 5 days. I always tell my clients, call and find out what is the current balance, because typically the title company will have made a payment and they're like, oh yes, there was a payment of $80. You only owe $20. So make sure you have them call the water department to update and make sure everything is on cue. At this point at settlement, once they're done signing, they'll get possession of the home and they will get the keys from the seller. If there are extra keys or a garage door opener or any keypad codes, make sure you ask at settlement for all of those, or a mailbox key. That's always like the little details that get forgotten. People always ask me, should I buy my client a gift? It's totally up to you. And if so, like, how much do I spend? Again, this is your business. I personally like to make it kind of special based on my client, so I don't necessarily buy everybody the same thing. I've done things as simple as going to the dollar store and buying them some of those annoying things you have to spend money on, right? So like a bottle of Windex, a bottle of floor cleaner, a bucket, a roll of paper towels, a roll of toilet paper, and $10, you can put together a really nice little, starter kit for your client. And I always, always, always recommend a nice handwritten note. Thank you so much for trusting me to help you. I've loved working with you and being your realtor. Please keep me in mind for any future real estate needs. I love referrals. I'd love it if you would send me anyone that you know. I also have people that, have become really good friends, and I've gotten them things like a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey. So it's really kind of up to whatever you guys feel comfortable with. So typically I'll order that, get that gift together about a week before, just so I know settlement's happening, right? I get what's called my clear to close from my lender, which means the loan is good to go. I'm going to ask the title company for something called a pre-alta. The alta is the actual settlement statement that they're going to sign at settlement. We want to double check that. Why do you think we should double check that before we go to settlement?
To make sure everything's correct.
Yes. So I just had settlement yesterday for a client, and they totally forgot the seller's assist. So we made sure that that was on. You always want to double check your commission, right? That's your payday that you've been working hard for. Make sure your commission is correct. We're also going to want to double check with the lender how much money the buyer needs to bring to settlement. So the buyer will bring either a check, not a personal check, a bank check, certified funds, payable to the title company in whatever that final number is from the lender. Or they can wire the money to the title company. If they're going to wire the money to the title company, I highly encourage you to make sure they do it 3 business days before settlement. We want to make sure that money is there because they cannot close if the money is not there. Does that make sense? So 3 business days. So if your settlement is on Wednesday, ideally they're going to send that Friday. So you have Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday settlement. Does that make sense? All righty. So then we'll go to settlement. They'll have, a new home address, right? If you're working with a buyer, so you're going to want to update that in your command. Any other details that you want to update in command, I recommend you do that. There's actually a section for a home anniversary. Put that home anniversary date in your command as well. That's going to remind you that in a year from now, you can send them a 1-year happy home anniversary card. I also personally like to get a picture with my clients. Like when we do that final walkthrough, I say, all right, let's get a picture of your first, your new home. And I take a picture, and now I have that I can either use to send them a card with that picture for their 1-year home anniversary, or I can post on my social media. Some people also like to utilize just sold marketing pieces. So there are just sold in designs in command that you can send out postcards to the neighborhood, right? That you just helped your client buy this home. You're the realtor of choice here. I do recommend, I'm a big proponent of thank you cards. So I also recommend sending a thank you note to the title company. thanking them for a great job. Also, maybe my home inspector, right? All these people that helped me get to closing, my lender. I also like to write a thank you note to the other agent I'm working with, even if they were crappy. Why? Because you want to be the bigger person and the better agent. Don't be afraid to ask your clients for a referral, right? You just worked your butt off for them. So make sure you say, hey, did I do a good job for you? Are you guys happy? You are. Could you please, write a testimonial for me on your Facebook page or on, Zillow for me or on Google. I would love it if you would keep me in mind if you hear anyone else thinking about buying or selling. And then I always am going to recommend that you schedule a follow-up with your buyers to check in with them about 2 weeks after settlement. Now, if you know they're not moving in for maybe a month, like whenever they're moving in, a week or two, check in. Hey, how's everything with the house? How did the move go? Right? You're top of mind again, right? Just want to check. Did you need anything? Do you have any questions about anything? Good to go? Awesome. Anybody have any questions about this kind of process? It's a
I missed
lot,
the
right?
first minute or two. I wanted to check. Where can we get a copy of that checklist and the other checklist that you first showed? Is that in the on the the forms, the PA forms?
I will email you a copy.
Oh, thank you.